me do it. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Flippin Tables. I'm not your regular host. I am Anibal. This is Javi. That's your boy Fern. And I'm the special guest today. Woo!
That's not bad. That's not bad.
There you go, my first time.
That's not bad. Yeah, that's my my little brother. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who do know, you know that's my little brother. I call him G. So if you guys hear me call him G, don't get confused. I'm not saying gangsta. Yeah. I'm just calling him by his last name, the last name initial. So, yeah, he's a special guest today. We're happy to have him on the show. It's been long overdue. I think he was a little shy, or I don't know what was going on. But we got him on, and I think it's going to be a good one, especially for the younger audience. That's always the motive, right? To try to reach that younger audience and to just help them through life, through our experiences, through our eyes, right? And yeah, so today we're going to be talking about life after high school / college, right? And because he did go to school.
Yep.
He did go to school.
Not me. Not me.
We didn't finish, or he didn't even get there.
I dropped out in 11th grade, so can't tell you much about school there.
Exactly. So, yeah, life after, higher education.
Yep.
And, trusting God with unknown, with the future, right? So let's just get into it, man. Give us a little bit of your side of the story.
Just a little background. I went to Montgomery College, 2-year college first, then I transferred over to Towson, finished off my my
bachelor's.
My bachelor's there. Graduated with a teaching degree, and I'm a full-time teacher. Work with MCPS, so, got good benefits. At least, pay not that good, but I got good benefits, though,
The pay is the love of the kids.
That's the big thing. I was like, remember your why? My why? He's not so strong right now.
Be like that.
Nah, man. But yeah, I mean, it was a big thing, right? Because like you guys know, and Javi has shared before, like he did like a semester, a year at college. And when I was about to graduate high school, and people were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to New York, or I'm going to go to UCLA. I'm going to go to here or there. And I had no idea where these places were. I had no idea what they were. And then my counselor was like, so what are you going to do? I have no idea. And that's the truth. I didn't know whether I was going to go to school. I told him, I was like, I want to go to West Virginia. Because I saw he went to West Virginia and he had a little thing. And I was like, I'm not trying to say it for half an hour. I was like, yeah, West Virginia, yeah, woo. Nah, man, but I was blessed. I was blessed to be able to go to college and learn and graduate.
Yeah, I mean, so it wasn't easy, right? Because we didn't grow up with money, right? Yeah. Our lifestyle wasn't like
lavish or anything.
Yeah, so I think even I was encouraged by his journey after, right? Because I got FAFSA when I was applying. I didn't even know how much how it worked, to be honest. I just remember, I think there was like a night where they were telling everybody how to fill it out or whatever. Half the time I was doing something that I didn't even know what it was for. You know what I mean? And so I remember like when I graduated, I got, I think like $12,000 from FAFSA. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this semester off. I was like, I need a break from school. And then I'll go back in January. And when I applied, I was like, oh, I got $12,000. Like, I'm good. And they were like, no, you actually have 6 because you didn't use the other 6.
Yeah.
I was like, dang. But I know him, like, he got FAFSA. I know he got some other scholarships and other grants and stuff like that. So I think, if he did pay anything of his like college tuition, it was very minimal.
That's
if he had to pay anything. I don't even know, you know what I mean? Like if he paid, most of it was covered with other scholarships, with grants and things like that. So
yeah, and I mean, like that's a big thing. There's so many scholarships out there. I always encourage people to apply. Even if you think you have a chance or you don't think you have a chance, apply. That's really all you need to do. And you'd be crazy. Like there's literally some, it's like, okay, like you're low income, you're gonna get a scholarship. You're Hispanic, you're gonna get a scholarship. You live in this area, you're gonna get a scholarship. And there's so many different opportunities, and it's always worth applying, whether you're gonna get it or not, but
Yeah.
it's always worth applying.
Let me ask you a question. What made you decide, or what helped you make the decision that you were going to go to school? Because I know that there's a lot of youth out there that sometimes they don't want to go to school. Like you just said, you was like, I need some time off. And then there's those who just don't want to go at all. But how do you make the decision? How do you know if it's for you or if it's something that you just kind of move on to if you decide to work on and go into the workforce? Like what made you say, I'm going to go to school?
It was honestly my mom, because I remember like when he's saying like when he graduated, he got a scholarship, and then I told my mom I was like what, in 8th grade when he graduated or something like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was for, but I heard he got some money, and I remember I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I promise you I'm gonna get more than that. Like I'm like challenging myself. And then once
You're like, I don't want to live in my brother's shadow anymore.
yeah. So once I was, close to graduating, she reminded me. I didn't remember. She was like, "Me prometiste." On a drive home, me prometiste that you were gonna go do this, and I was like, "Dang,
Accountability.
yeah." And then I also realized, like, if I don't go to school, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, there's plenty of opportunities. Like, you guys are both great examples, but it's the what's next. I felt like I need to be more prepared. Right? Like I was living at home. I didn't work when I was in high school. I tried to. My mom was like, no. I got, I was about to go selling knives door to door. My mom was like, no. I was like,
That's like a Ponzi scheme, bro.
Yeah.
Or like a pyramid scheme.
Cut cold knives.
Yeah. And like she didn't let me. And so when I got close in, senior year, I didn't really see anything else. And I was like, all right, college sounds like, and in the movies, it's a big thing, and they're like, oh, dorming and parties and this and that. And it sounded like fun, but I was also very nervous because it's something new.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't know whether I was going to be able to go to college or not. And, God was very, blessed me. And like how he was saying, like my school, my tuition was paid for completely.
Nice.
I think I had to pay maybe out of pocket once. And even then, it was only like $200 for like one of the books.
Wow.
So it was nothing like super big and like, oh, I got to take out a loan and, this and that. So I was very fortunate. But again, I felt like I needed to be better prepared for life, because life hits and it doesn't hold back.
And when you were in school, did you feel like there was at any time, did you feel like, man, maybe I made the wrong decision? Maybe I should have gone to work. Maybe school's not for me. Did you have any doubt while you were in the middle of it?
Plenty of times, man. And they're like, you got a 4-page paper due. And 4 pages isn't a lot to me now.
Yeah.
But back then, when I first graduated, I was used to writing a paragraph, 2 paragraphs. It's like, I got to write 4 pages and it's due on Friday. And you're telling me this on Wednesday. So I have, 2 days to do this.
2 days.
Staying up until 2 a.m. and they'll be like, it's trying to finish this paper. So, or taking the class and I didn't like the teacher. There was plenty of times where I'm like, nah, this is not for me. But the same concept, my mom was always there. Like, I knew you got to do this. Like, you, one, like, you promised me. 2, it's for your future. 3, you can't quit something you started.
Yeah.
Right.
And 4, you promised her.
Yeah, 4, I promised her again. Yeah. So, that's really what kept me going. And I always saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Right. Like, this is not forever. It's for X amount of years. I went for 5 years. But it's for X amount of years and you're going to get through it. Right. Time always moves on. So whether you're struggling with the class or, if I did that paper, great. And I got to turn it in, great. If I didn't finish it, it will still do. Yeah. Right. And, D, right, or F. So no matter what, time still moves. So just, you got to roll with the punches. Got to keep moving.
Yeah. I think you know, it's good. It's great to hear all this. I think the main thing is also like a lot of people don't know what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because I remember as soon as you get into high school, freshman year, everybody's like, so what are you going to do after school? Right. And so I'll be honest, for me, it never really put pressure on me. I was never really like, I never really thought that far ahead anyways. I was never like, oh, after I graduate, I'm going to go to this university and study this. I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
I just knew what I liked, you know, and at that point in my life, I really liked criminal justice. So I was like, I want to be a cop to start, but I really wanted to be a homicide detective. Right?
Watching too many castle shows.
I was watching, like, you know, First 48 and all that. You know, I love that stuff. So just the fact of like trying to figure out who did it, why they did it, and all that, right? So I was like, okay, what do I have to do to get there?
Yeah.
Right. And so, but I think for some other people, it does put a lot of pressure on them, right? Because maybe their parents are doctors.
Yeah. You're trying
Maybe
to
their
get that
parents
bar.
are lawyers.
That bar's high.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like, well, we've had 3 generations of lawyers. So you gotta be the fourth. Right.
Yeah.
And so it can put a lot of pressure on some people, right? And if you're that person, it's okay. Like he was saying, like life goes on. I think, you know, something that I was watching something today on YouTube actually, and the guy was saying, sometimes you got to take it a day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you gotta take it an hour at a time, or even a minute at a time, and that's how, you know. I think when we start to worry or things start to weigh us down too much is because we're thinking too big or too far ahead, where we're like, oh my God, how am I ever going to pay for school? And I'm going to go, I don't even know how long you got to go to school to be a doctor or a lawyer. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that's like another 8 years or something like that if you want to be a doctor, and you get in tons of student debt. Mm-hmm. And if you start to think about all that, you know, I think that's where it starts to weigh you down. So what were, you know, I guess for you, did you ever go through that? What did you do to kind of process that? Because everybody comes from a different background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And so, and obviously now, you know, you did study and all that good stuff, and now you're a teacher, right? That's helping the next generation. Like you're helping the next generation of kids, right? Or people. So did you ever feel that weight? If you did or you didn't, why or why not?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did, right? Like the what's next part, right, was very big. And when you start to think about it, like you said, very immensely, you do stress because you don't know what's out there, right? And especially as a, you know, you just graduated high school, there's so many things, you know, there's so many things out there. You can go to the workforce, you can go to college, you can be a bum and stay at home. Yeah. You know, you could, you know, work side gigs. There's so many things, the military, right? There's so many things open. But I think something like you said, right? Like, what do I want to do? And that's the question that I asked myself. And I really like working with kids. So I was like, okay, I like working with kids. What can I do in that range? Right. And that's how I got into teaching. But the big thing, like you said, is taking it piece by piece. Right. So it's, what's my end goal? Right. Where do I want to be? Okay. I want to become a teacher. Great. What do I have to do? I need my bachelor's degree. Awesome. I need to study. Awesome. I need to have experience. Awesome. Right. And then breaking that down even further. Yeah. So what I did is I took it semester by semester. You know, I didn't worry about, I got to take these classes next semester. Nah. These are the ones I'm taking. I need to pass these right now. Because if I don't pass these, I can't take the other ones. Yeah. So really focusing on these classes that I'm taking right now, making sure I'm putting all my effort into them, doing the assignments, turning them in on time, meeting my teachers if I have questions, right? That's the big thing, right? Like showing up to the office. Yeah. Right? Hey, I have a question. I didn't understand this. What does this mean? Or this assignment, you know, something came up. I can't turn it in. Can I have extra time? right? And a lot of professors, if you talk to them, are really cool and they'll let you do that. But again, taking it piece by piece. Because if I started to think, and it did happen to me several times while I was in college, where I was like, dang, how am I going to do this? Right? And you start to stress, and then you just sit there stressing and worrying, and then you don't do anything.
Yeah.
So breaking it up, right? Taking it semester by semester or class by class. That's really the big thing.
And that's the kind of stuff that even now as an adult, you tend to see that, right? Even after you get past the student part, you're going to run into situations where it's really tough for you to kind of take the next step towards solving your next issues or getting over obstacles in life. I feel like sometimes when you're just not ready, you don't prepare, you don't plan, you don't ask for help.
Yeah.
It kind of takes a toll on you. It weighs heavy on you because things start to pile up on you. And once you feel like, oh, this is a huge burden, I can't do it on my own, sometimes we tend to fall flat on our faces, and run into to something that we made it bigger than what it was. Scripture teaches us, en español dice, no nos afanéis por el día de mañana, porque mañana va a traer su propio afán.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no need
Don't
for
worry
us to
about
panic
tomorrow.
and worry about it.
Tomorrow's its own problem.
Yeah, and it does. And because of that, we need to learn to all right, we got 3 problems to solve today. Let me solve 1, 2, and if I get to the third one, good. But to be diligent, right? You're not going to I'll start at noon to start on my things. Tackle it.
Yeah.
Tackle it. Take the bull by the horns and take that sucker down, But at the end of the day, it's like putting in the work.
Yeah, and I think something that you said, right, being prepared for, I was not prepared. When I graduated high school, I was not prepared, in the county that I went to school in, it was like, put your paper, scribble a few sentences, you get half the credit. Right?
Just put your name down.
Exactly. You did something, right? And in college, it was not like that at all.
Yeah.
Right. So I went in thinking it's the same. I'm chilling. I got to meet new people. I'm hanging out with friends. And then at the end of the semester, right, them grades hit, and it was not it.
Reality kind of smacks you in the face, right? Yeah.
And especially for me, because I had scholarships. So all that stuff got sent to the people who gave me the scholarships, right? Like FAFSA. I remember I got a scholarship from a senator or the governor or something. And all that stuff gets sent back to them, right? Because if you're not meeting the goals, then
they're not going to give you the money.
They're not going to give me the money, yeah. And so I remember one time, it was after the first semester, I had seen my grades and I knew they weren't that good. And for some reason, I went to Guatemala and I was in Guatemala chilling. I was enjoying. I was like, I'm on vacation, man. I'm chilling. And then out the blue, my brother calls me, right? That's Ducky.
His other brother.
Yeah.
His other brother. The mean one. The one that yells at when you're playing basketball.
Yeah,
that's
not
not
Christian.
He calls me and he's like, what did we just get in the mail? And I'm like, what do you mean?
I'm not there. I know.
Yeah. And he's like, we just got a letter that says you're failing.
Snap.
We just got a letter that says that you're losing your scholarship. Why did we get this? You said you were you were going to school. You said your grades were good. What is this?
And you're chilling in the
And I'm chilling, I'm chilling on vacation.
Maca vibes. You were swinging all
Exactly.
that joint. He said, let me put the stress on these trees.
Yeah, so I was chilling. And I was like, I remember I got really nervous. And, how he was like, he's like, I told you, I'm going to work and pay for the bills and everything. And your job was to go to school and get good grades. But what is this? And I think I had a 1.8 GPA, and that's horrible.
Yeah.
Right? And then he was just like, you better fix this. And from that moment on, I did, I lost that scholarship, unfortunately. But I still got FAFSA and I got other scholarships. But from that moment on, I guess the reality hit. And it clicked, okay, it's not something I could just chill and
take for granted.
Yeah. So from that moment on, and I remember I got put on academic probation.
Wow.
So my first semester, I was only taking 4 classes. I think I failed 3 of them. So I passed math.
Art class.
I passed. It was math. But
he said pass PE.
There you go. Yeah. But the next semester, they were like, because of what you did the first semester, you can only take like a certain amount of credit hours. And so my idea was, all right, I need to retake English 101. So let me just do that now instead of pushing it back a year. And let me take a math class because I'm good at math. It's pretty easy to me and I can get that done. So I know that's an A for sure. Like if I apply myself, that's a guaranteed A. The English 101 class, I'm gonna have to work a little harder because I didn't like writing. So, I tried to set that up and they were like, no, you can't do it because it's too many credit hours. You're only allowed 6.
Wow.
So I went from taking, 12 to 15 credit hours to 6. That's, less than half. Yeah. And so I remember I went up to one of the academic advisors and I sat in her office for like an hour and I was like, please, look, I got to take this class. Like, this is my idea to do math. And I know I'm going to pass math. And then, English 101, I want to get out the way and da-da-da. And so she was like, all right, you know what? Since the class starts today, go to that English class and go to the math class. She was like, I'll see what I can do. But just go today so that they see you're there.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then like in 3 days, she emailed me back. She was like, hey, so I worked it out. You're going to be able to take both classes, which is 7 credit hours. Good luck.
Yeah.
Right. And from that moment on, like I really applied myself. Like I remember I was going to school just for school. I stopped hanging out with those friends. I was literally, me and my mom shared a car at the time. So I would drop her off at like 8 in the morning at the house she would work at, drive back to school, take the class, be done around like 10:30, 11, drive back up to pick her up, and then she would drop me off at the house. And then she would have the car for the rest of the day. And the same thing for my math class.
Let's break that down because one thing that you went over really fast is the fact that you said you stopped hanging out with those friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like for a lot of the younger crowd that like watches us is like at a certain point that's like a big one.
Yeah.
And sometimes, at least for you, you had your mom and your brother that held you accountable to the things that you said, the things that you were doing. And you were borderline not about to hit your goals, right?
Yeah.
Borderline, like you said, you lost that scholarship. You had a lot more to lose. That, let's face it, we're in a county where there's a lot of wealthy folks who don't necessarily have to be on scholarships. They don't have to do a lot. So if some of us who are like less fortunate, like every opportunity counts. We don't have the luxury of saying, oh, I'll just retake the class and I'll pay out of pocket for it type of thing. And sometimes making that decision to cut off people from your life and to make that decision like, hey, they're just not good for me right now. That's a big decision. That's a grown man decision to make. So I know you went over it, but if you can really express what the struggle is to do that, or maybe it wasn't a struggle. Maybe you just knew like, hey, I'm gonna cut him off and be done with it. But the reality that's part of that's a grown person decision to make. And how did you go about doing that part?
So, I mean, at least for me, it was hard. In high school, I wasn't like super social, but once I got to college, I kind of came out a little bit more and I was more social. And I would be hanging out with these group of friends from like 2 to like 6 p.m. So I was like 4 hours almost every day. We'd play volleyball, just hanging out in the cafeteria and just do things like that. So cutting them off was a hard thing because it's like I made this group of friends. I had a connection with them and now I can't see them anymore. But I knew it was for my own good. Because, I was like, I can't risk failing again.
Yeah.
I can't like hanging out with them or not getting my work done. Like I can't, right? So I got to get my work done. And, it was hard because sometimes I would see them like walking to my car or like driving by and they'd be like, yo, we haven't seen you. Like, it's been 2 weeks. Like, what's up, man? How are you? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm focused right now.
Heads down.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, like, we're going to go play volleyball later. Come through. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'll let you know if I can. And I wouldn't go. But I knew it was a decision that I had to make because, I couldn't afford to lose another scholarship.
Yeah.
Right. And it was hard. But after that semester passed, like, it got easier. because I already knew like, okay, I'm going to go to school, go to my class, come home, do my homework, chill at home, right? So it was hard for the first, I say like 2 months, but after that, like, you know, they kind of moved to the back of my mind, not, you know, out of sight, out of mind.
So leaving the school part to one side, right? We have other things that we normally have to work with. For example, we made mentions of like having a work-life balance, right? And talking about job security.
Yeah.
How did you decide what you wanted to do and what it took you to go to school, and how does the job security play a factor in all that?
Okay, yeah. You know, like I said, I knew I wanted to work with kids. They're a lot of fun, and that led me to, okay, like, what can I do with kids, right? It was like being a counselor, being a teacher, you know, and with that, you know, it's like you can be a teacher but work at a daycare, be a teacher, work at a child facility, and things like that. And originally, I did want to do counseling. I wanted to be a child psychologist. But when I started looking at that, you know, I needed to do 4 years to get my counseling degree, to get my bachelor's. And on top of that, another 2 to be a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Right. So that's 6 years of school. If, you know, more if I fail a class because I got to retake it. And now it's money. Because now it's not just, you know, community college, but it's also, you know, going to a 4-year university and then getting my master's. Right. And I was like, I can't afford that. Right. Like, I know my brother's working, my mom's working hard. Like, I need to find the quickest way to be able to help. Right. Pitch in. Right. Give my part. So I was like, you know what? I'll be a teacher. I get the summers off. You know that, you know, time is, you know, during the day. I don't got to work weekends. I'll be a teacher. And I mean, it was pretty, you know, not fast paced, but pretty straightforward, at least for me, making that decision. And once I made that decision, I just got to take the right classes.
And just take that route.
Yeah.
Now, I know, like, you just gave us a whole rundown of, like, your whole mentality going into school and things like that, right? Now, talking about life itself, life after school, whether it's high school, whether it's college, again, we all have fears because life can be overwhelming sometimes, right? And life will throw you a curveball, right? Sometimes, yeah, you have both of your parents at home and you're good. They're covering everything. Yeah. Or sometimes you come from a broken family or a home, or let's say a sibling gets ill or your parents get ill or something like that, right? And life throws curveballs. But in your life, the things that did overwhelm you, especially like transitioning after you graduated college, right? Because like you said, you weren't ready for the transition from high school to college.
Yeah.
And then from college to real life. Right? What were some of those difficulties? Did you have any difficulties? What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, I mean,
and then going to work for real.
Yeah. No joke. I mean, something that really hit me hard, at least, was during getting my degree, there's a semester where you do student teaching. So essentially, like, you become a teacher, but you're not getting paid. And you got to work. You know, you got to go to a school. You know, do internship. And that really opened my eyes to, like, okay, this is actually how schools are. This is what I have to teach the kids. Or these now. I was like 23. So, okay, now I'm responsible for these kids as a 23-year-old. That's crazy, right? But and then once I graduated, it's like I was holding my diploma, and it's all right. Now what? Now what do I have to do? Because once you graduate, it's not like, it's like, all right, like, step up. This is what's next. Now it's like, all right, poof. You graduated. Good job. Congratulations. Right? It's like, what's next? And once I graduated, I have lots of, studying teaching, but also just like personal friends who are teachers. They're like, oh, so what are you going to do? Where are you going to go teach? Are you going to do a Title I school? Are you going to do private school? Are you going to do this? And everybody was so opinionated. And the place where I work at, the preschool I used to work at, they offered me a job. They were like, you know what, be a second grade teacher. We opened up this private wing. We offer you X amount of money. And I asked around, and some people were like, do it, Anibal. That sounds like a great opportunity, right? You're only gonna have a limited amount of kids because it's a private school. Do it. It sounds great. And now other people are like, you're gonna do private school? Why are you gonna do private school? That's so messed up to all the other kids who can't, be in there in private school. How are you gonna leave, this and this and this? And I was like, I don't care. I just want a job, I remember talking to one person that they were really like opinionated, and they're like, you're really gonna do that? Why?
They were offended by it.
They were, like legit. And I was like, I'm just looking at my options right now. And then, something came back and was like, you wanted to be a counselor. And it's like, dang, I got my teaching degree, struggled for this, and now, do I even want to be a teacher? Because I was an intern, so I saw what they had to do. I saw all the work. Do I really want to be a teacher? Someone, I don't know how, but someone connected me to this other organization that did like counseling. So I was like, you know what? Shoot, I'm going to do this. And so I worked there for like a month, it was good, but it was also very confusing because it was like counseling and it's not what I had studied.
Yeah.
But, growing up in church and reading the Bible and, having older, like, my brother is a good example for me. So it's like, okay, like I kind of got the gist of counseling a little bit. But still, I didn't like it the way it was formatted. So again, I only worked there for like a month and I was like, yeah, it's not for me. And then someone from the county MCPS called me and they're like, hey, is this so-and-so? I'm like, yeah, it's me. They're like, okay, like we want to interview for a position we have. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, how did you guys find my number? And they're like, oh, well, actually, the school sent us all the graduates' information. So we're reaching out to people who, like, there was like a form. There was like, do you intend to apply? Do you not intend to apply? And I'd put like undecided. So like, we're just reaching out to everybody who's undecided. And I remember like right there, like within 20 minutes of that phone call, like he set up a Zoom. So we had an interview and it was good. And then, that kind of reminded me like, okay, I went and I got this degree and then I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, like you're going to use it, right? Go teach. And then someone else was like, well, you're a Hispanic male. Like you're an immigrant. You know what a lot of these other kids struggle with, right? You come from a low-income family, right? You know what that's like. And then I was like, okay, like, you know what? Maybe God did put me in this position for a reason, right? To be another example, right? Of not just, we're Hispanic, so we got to mow grass. We're Hispanic, so we got to work construction, right? But being put in a position where, I can work with other kids that I can relate with, right? And that's an added benefit to me because now it's like I see a kid and, they're, I work in kindergarten, so they're throwing tantrums, right? And it's being able to, instead of being, like another teacher would react like, hey, sit down. And it'd be like, you hungry? We got some leftover snacks. You want one? Like, yeah, okay. Give them a snack. They calm down, right? So, being able to relate to that kid, but
you were that hungry kid.
Oh yeah, I was that hungry kid, funny little story. One time, my mom used to be the cafeteria lady, and then one time she was like, Anibal, are you eating breakfast at the school too? And I was like, yeah, it's good. And she was like, yo te doy comida a casa, Anibal, no vas a ir a comer allá otra vez. Para de hacer eso.
He said, let me just throw that into
parentheses. No, but yeah, like, dealing with that unknown, right? I was fortunate enough that someone reached out to me.
Yeah.
Because, I got hired with the county in like late August, like the second week of August. So that's, when schools are coming back.
Yeah.
So being, the whole process was from like August 12th, I think. And then schools come back in like around the 20th. So that's 8 days. Right. So
Right
in
before
those
right before the trade deadline.
exactly.
Making those last minute moves.
Exactly. So the fact that someone reached out to me, called me, set up the interview, we did the interview, he got my name in the system. I didn't even end up working at that school specifically, but the fact that he picked up the phone, that principal picked up a phone and called me, it's like, okay, like, I took that as like, okay, God, like you really want me in here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't apply. I didn't, reach out to, hey, are you guys hiring? No, like someone picked up the phone and called me. And then that led to where I work now, but it is scary. It is scary because when I graduated, I don't want to do this, but maybe I do, but maybe I don't, and it's you just got to be determined. Right. And I was like, I'm not going to waste these 4 years that I spent studying this and learning how to do this to go learn something else.
Yeah.
Right. To go do something else. So I'm going to use what I learned and apply it and try my best.
And I mean, I think like also one thing that I do remember is he started serving in the children's ministry at church before I did. You know what I mean? Just helping out with like Super Sunday and things like that. I don't know if you were like
12, bro.
Yeah, I don't know if you were like
He was the kid.
I was a kid. I was a kid teaching other kids.
Yeah. So, and it's something that like even growing up, like he was more gentle, he was like nicer, he was kind, he was, you know what I mean? And I was more more dominant in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Like
Aggressive.
not just because I'm about 5 years.
He called you nurturing.
Not just because I was older than him, right? But he would be the type to like if we were to get into it, he'd be the type to be like, all right, you got it. Like, all right.
You were the older
it.
one, but he was the bigger man.
Yeah,
like,
he would diffuse it. Yeah. So
I wasn't point in arguing.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? So I think the field that he chose, it suits him, right?
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, it was definitely meant for him by God, right?
Yep.
And so, but I think that's also a hard decision, right? Because like you said, you didn't go to school, you didn't go to college, right? The path that you had to live is way different than mine and than his.
I took a highway to fatherhood. And
my man took a toll road, bro.
I paid the price. I definitely paid that toll. You know what I'm saying? But it was a whole different route.
Exactly. Right. But it's at the end of the day, like what we're trying to get to is that regardless of what path or what road you take, there's still fear that goes through that, right? Because like you were like, man, I'm 19, I'm having a kid, now I have to get married and try to do things the right way now, and
I can't imagine being married at 19, man. Those,
you know what I mean? Like I remember, bro, I was like, I remember thinking younger and I was like, all right, 24, 25, I want to get married. And then being 24, 25 and being like, nah, I don't want to get married yet because this is crazy, And so, which is, it's not, I mean, marriage is a blessing, right? It's not anything bad, but regardless of the path that you're dealt or the cards that you're dealt, there's still fear that comes into that, right? And so in your experience, or what did you do to, I guess, to stay hopeful, to have faith and know that like this is meant for you, like this is God's plan for your life, regardless of what's going on around with your friends, what you're seeing with other, your friends' parents or our parents, right? What did you do what did you use to kind of keep you like steady?
I mean, I was never told, right? Like, tú vas a ser un maestro, Anibal. No, nothing like that. And I think a lot of times people expect that, right? But I didn't have any expectations, right? My only expectations were God's going to make this happen, right? And, and like you said, coming from a low-income family where we didn't have a lot of money and not knowing how I was going to pay for college, but God got this.
Yeah.
God got this.
Faith.
Yeah, and one time, filling out FAFSA, and I saw how much my mom made in a year, and I broke down crying. Because I was like, how is it possible that, she's only made this much, but we're financially stable. We have food on our table. Not just, like frijoles, you know what I'm saying? But my mom was like, I'm not trying to cook today. Y'all want Chick-fil-A? Right?
Yeah.
And like, buying outside food, which is, more expensive. So seeing that, really gave me more faith to be like, you know what? God got this. I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm going to apply myself. And something I always told growing up by my mom, it was, God may close the door, but he's going to open another one.
Yeah.
Right. So whenever, I remember I applied, once I finished MC, I applied to like 2 different universities, and one of them, denied me. And I was like, God's going to open another one. Right. Like having, like I still had that fear, and that worry as a human, but knowing, at the end of the day, God got this. Right. Whatever. Dang, you know what? I got to pay for my gas and I got no money. God got this. And there's always like little things that God came through. I remember one time, my mom, it was like towards the end of the semester, my mom was like, mijo, tengo que pagar esto, que no sé qué. And I mean, I was working at the time, but I didn't make enough. And then like 2 days later, we get a check in the mail. And it was from like one of my scholarships, like leftover money that didn't go to my tuition or to books.
That's dope.
And it was like $800. And it was more than enough to pay what we had to pay at that time. So it's like little things like that, kept adding faith to my heart for me to be like, okay, you know what, God got this, and it as I was also not separating from the church, right? That was a big thing. I already knew that Friday nights we were going to church, Sundays we were going to church. If it was a youth event on Saturday, we were going to church. So not going to school and be like, all right, like, I'm gonna focus on my studies and just my studies.
Yeah.
Right now, like church was a big part of my, when I was a little kid, and I made an effort to continue that when I was in college. Like the Bible says, God sees you and he rewards you, right? He sees your sacrifice and he's going to reward you for your sacrifice, for what you're giving up.
And I mean, regardless, like just because you graduate high school, just because you graduate college, just because you secure a job, there's still other things in life that are known.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. Unknown. Who are you going to marry? Yeah. That can be a overwhelming feeling. Am I going to have enough to provide? Right. As men, you think that. Am I going to have enough to provide for my wife? Am I going to have enough to provide for 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, however many you want? Then you have to take into account a household and cars and other stuff.
All these expenses,
right? Other expenses, yeah. And so it doesn't stop just when you after high school, right? Just like adulthood
keeps going.
It goes, bro. It goes, right? And so there's other things that start getting added on, just because like when God fulfills one promise, it doesn't mean like, oh, he solved all your problems.
Yeah.
Nah. Or everything disappears, right?
There's more.
Like God blessed me with the home.
Yep.
And now it's a new fear unlocked.
Yeah.
How am I going to pay this mortgage?
Yeah.
He's like, congratulations.
Yeah.
You hit a bonus round.
You pray for the home. You got it.
You know what I mean? And so I think that it's important to understand that like just because you hit one milestone doesn't mean like you won everything. You gotta acknowledge and gotta enjoy the milestones that you hit and the blessings and the promises that are fulfilled. But that doesn't mean that fear is just like you're not gonna fear anything anymore, right? So
no, and I think what you said, that's a big thing. Like that I had to learn. Graduated high school, awesome, good job, Anibal.
Yeah.
What's next? Yeah. Right, college or work? Which one are you gonna do? Graduate college, awesome. What's next? Now you got to get a job. And now you got to pay some bills. And I got to pay rent. And I got to buy your own food and this and that. And like you said, everything just keeps getting added on.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is taking the skills that you learned and keep using them. Right? Taking, I had to learn, I didn't have time management in high school. I didn't need it. I had to learn time management in college.
Yeah.
And then now I'm in the workforce. Right now I have a career. Now, I have a 9 to 5. Using that time management, right? Because there's a lot of people that, that work-life balance, they don't have it, especially as teachers, right? A lot of teachers take work home. a lot of teachers don't leave the building until like 6 p.m.
Wow.
Right? When that's like 2 hours extra that you work that you're not getting paid for. And I try my best, and I try my best to, my time in, my time out. That's the time where if you want to reach me, you better email me, call me, pass me a note, something. But after that time, 4:15 hits, I'm out that door.
Wow.
You get emails, you get, phone calls from parents or from peers, from coworkers. But it's having that balance, right? Knowing like, okay, even though I left the building, I know I'm still gonna get that email from that parent, right? And being able to have that self-control to be like, I'm not gonna answer it right now. I can answer it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But going back to your point, like things do just keep getting added on, and that's something I realized. Like, okay, you got a car on you, now you got to pay for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, one thing like that I was gonna lead into that is because I remember like he graduated, he got a job, he started working as a teacher, and literally like 2 months into it, my man's would be like, I mean, he would have conversations with my mom, and my mom would tell me, right, and he'd be like, "Oh, Anibal wants to quit."
Oh, facts.
Anibal wants to quit. Like
Facts.
he hates it. You know what I mean?
So
And it was
bad.
because there was a lot of things going on. It wasn't that he hated the classroom that he was teaching or the kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was the fact that there was other things going on, like teachers were leaving and they weren't coming back. And then now there's kids, I'm sure there was kids left over from that classroom that are now getting thrown into his class. And now he has a bigger class to deal with and other teachers and things like that, right? So it was just a lot of moving pieces. And I remember like a month, 2 months into his job and he wants to quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then my mom's like, "Oh, Anibal," and like he wants to quit. And I'm just like, you went
Tough
for
luck.
it. Yeah, tough luck. You
Yeah.
better strap up those boots.
Yeah.
Pull up your pants because
that's
that's
life.
that's
my
life.
other brother. That's
Yeah.
the other
You know what I
brother.
mean? That's life because like you didn't go to school 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You didn't stay up all those late nights studying
Mm-hmm.
to give up 2 months into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is the Javi that I know on the court. So
Exactly.
yeah. Exactly. This is that other brother.
This is the competitive one,
Yeah.
right? So that's life though, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. Like there's new fears that are unlocked when you reach that next level. You know what I mean? And that goes into when you start thinking even ahead, right? And now you're married. And now that's another, I don't want to say fear unlocked, but that's another added thing.
It's another responsibility. It's another level. Literally.
Yeah. Right. Because now it's just not just you. Now it's your wife. And then you talk about fatherhood and things like now that's another, because nobody is born knowing.
Yeah.
Right. So then it's like, how do you like, how am I going to raise this baby? Not just like taking care of it
How do I hold it?
physically.
Yeah.
Not just like, how do I hold it? If she's crying, how do I get it? How do I get the baby to stop crying? But then it's like, what am I going to teach her or him? Right. Am I going to be strict? Am I going to be, chill? Am I going to allow this? Am I going to allow that? So now it becomes other things. And so I think, again, taking things, if you need to, one day at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking things, breaking it down even further. Taking things 1 hour at a time. Even more, and a minute at a time, right? Because that's how sometimes life can get really overwhelming. And I mean, even it's crazy. It might sound crazy to us.
Yeah.
Because we almost like we're cut from a different cloth, right?
Yeah.
But
Facts.
like we have a family friend whose son doesn't want to do anything. He already graduated. He didn't go to college, I don't think. And all he wants to do is play video games till 4 or 5 in the morning and sleep all day. And they're like, get a job. He doesn't want to get a job. Right? He's like,
It's tough.
and so his mother is hardworking. Like we've seen her, like she puts in work.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the baby father is giving him this other example, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, bro, like I don't even know how old he is now, but I don't know, you're 2021.
Yeah.
You're
That's insane.
grown, bro.
Yeah, that's
You know
crazy.
what I mean? Like you're grown. I remember at 21, I was paying rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're telling me like I could have chose this lifestyle
Yeah.
and just been like, all right, mom, you handle it. Like,
Yeah.
so I know it's a little bit off topic, but Like that's the reality. Like it might seem crazy to us, but there are people with that mentality. Because I think to some extent there's fear of being like, I'm not it's scary going to a new job.
Yeah.
It's scary going to a new college, and now you're dealing with other professors. And like I even think like I don't know, right? I don't want to put it out there, but I don't know if you like even went on that website where it's like rate your professor.
Oh, absolutely. I recommend it. If you're going to college, check that thing out, man.
To me, I didn't even know about it. You know what I mean? When I went to school, it's like I signed up for this class and it was this professor, and I think I went more based off like my time, my schedule.
Right.
Like I need this time, I need this time, I need this time, because after this I have to go to work or I have this. So if I got that strict teacher, or I got that teacher that was mad boring, whatever the case was, I dealt with that. Yeah. But there's people that are like, oh, this teacher has bad reviews, I'm gonna go with that other like that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. He laughed because it's like,
wow, that's why you gotta sign up on time. Because so I had some of those bad teachers, man.
So some of those are like fears, you know, where it's like, oh, he's so boring, I'm not gonna learn. Nah, bro. Like sometimes life. You know, life is life.
This is where we flip the table, right? Because now I'm gonna pick on you a little bit, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like. Some of us, we didn't grow up like that, right?
Yeah.
To me, like this is the first time I've heard about rating your teachers and picking your teachers, you know? Like normally in life, we have this, my dad always says like, oh, you're full of baloney, right? Ooh. But this weekend when I seen him, I hit him up, I was like, man, my dude, if we're all just giving you baloney, make a sandwich. Get over it. You know what I'm saying? If life gives you lemons, make lemonade, whatever the case might be. But I've never seen that. I've struggled so much to like, empathize or to sympathize with that type of mentality, because I feel like nowadays I think that's what's creating the struggle for kids to go from one phase to the next, you know, because you're looking for your comfort, you're looking for that next step to be easy, you don't want to take that hard step, you know. So I would say, do you think that when you're picking your own teachers, and this is, I know I'm jumping right into that because that would just like blew my mind. You guys threw me off with that whole thing, but I want to know, do you think that when you're picking your teachers, do you think it actually helps you? Do you think it's going to help those that are watching? I've always felt like when you try to make things easy for someone instead of helping them out, sometimes you're just being a crutch for them, right? And you're truly just handicapping them. But maybe I'm just being way too harsh because that's the way that I was brought up. But I would want to hear your side. If you hear me saying this versus how it helped you to kind of pick and choose your teacher and being on your toes to be the first one to select your class, all that stuff, how much of a difference do you think it made for you? Because he's telling you he just dealt with whatever teacher it was, right? But how do you think it helped you? I know what the answer is going to be. You finished. He didn't. You know? So I know what the answer is, right? But the question is like, do you think that also contributes to the mentality of just not dealing with life and not being able to take that next step?
I mean, I got to say, like in college, growing up, you probably know if someone tried to show you something and they got mad at you, they're probably not a good teacher. Yeah. Right. And I got to say, that's
like when the parents like got the belt and they see like
exactly. Like
when the whole meme, like, hey, we're doing homework right now with the belt in the hand. I got you.
So in college, all a person needs to do to be a teacher, professor, is have their master's. So there's some people as professors that don't know how to teach. You know, I had one that would literally sit there and complain about her ex-husband and this and that. And it's like, my God, this is a sociology class. You know what I mean? Like, this has nothing to do with this. Yeah. You know, and I had math teachers, just out the wazoo. Yeah. Right? So at least for me, I was like, okay, like, I was looking at the reviews, not so much as like, is this person a hard grader? Is this or that? Nah, but it's like, this person stays on topic. That's great. But that helped me at least, and I think I was at least smart enough and responsible enough to be like, this person says they talk too much and they don't collect the homeworks. Should I do that one? Nah, because that's not going to keep me accountable. Right. I'm not really going to learn anything. Right.
You might get through the class.
I'm going to get through it, but
when
I'm
you
not
get to the next class, you're struggling now.
Exactly. So at least that's, I was responsible and able to do that. But I do think, some people do take advantage. Like, man, this person only does 3 assignments. I'm going to take this class. Right? oh, this person all they do is
And
talk
that
about
is
their
a
life,
crutch, right?
Yeah,
Because
and
then
that
when you
becomes
get
a
into
crutch.
reality, real life, you don't even know what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was good because like you use it as a resource to help yourself grow,
Yeah.
right? But I think, like you said, there are people that take advantage of that, and it can cripple them in the long run. But regardless, again, going back to the main topic of like life after this and life like after college or whatever.
Sorry for the sidebar there.
I think it's. I think
that went in.
I think a little bit of fear is good.
Professor.
I think a little bit of fear is good, right? Because you have all these sayings of sink or swim,
Yeah, facts.
right? Fight or flight. Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna take off and give up, or are you actually gonna stay and stand your ground?
Now, I mean, right now, like that you were mentioning, my first 2 months of teaching were very hard. I'd already forgotten about that, but that was a point where, like, you're saying, like, am I really gonna stick this through? And I studied this for 4 years, and I'm gonna stick this through, and I'm gonna finish off this school year, and I'm gonna learn from it, or am I just gonna call it quits?
Yeah.
And at that point, like there was a lot of teachers leaving my school, for different reasons, right? Some were family issues, some were like, I hate this school, da da da. And then it was very difficult for me for those first 2 months, right? Being in a new environment, being with people that I didn't really get along with or like, but sticking through it, right? I think that's really what helped me, right? My mom sat me down. It was just like, Anibal, like, you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
Right? She's like, if you quit. Go do something else. Quit. You're young. You're 23.
Or make a decision.
Make a decision.
Make moves.
Exactly.
Yeah. That sounds like the biggest thing for you was really just your mom and your brother really holding you accountable.
Yeah.
And keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes in life that's really what you need. One of the things that last week I was out in North Carolina, and while I was having dinner, one of the young guys was like, "Hey, I have my Facebook page. Was hoping that I can interview." And I was like, with food in my mouth, I was like, "Okay." He's like, I was like, "Right now?" He's like, "Yeah, if you don't mind." I was like, "All right." So I stood up and he's like, he hits me like random, like, "What's your advice to someone?" And right before that, one of the preachers was talking about Elias and Eliseo.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that stood out to me is like, I think it's important that, especially for the youth, right, that you find a mentor.
Absolutely.
You find someone that's going to hold you accountable, right? Because sometimes you're not going to have a big brother. You're not going to have a mom who's on you. Sometimes parents, especially nowadays, it's very easy for parents to be distracted. I found it in myself that sometimes I was too busy trying to provide that I wasn't on my kids about where your grades at, where you're at, what's your next plan, what's your plan for the next 4 years, the next 3 years, 2 years, whatever. So I feel like one of the things that is really important for youth right now is, one, to find a mentor who's going to help you. Who's going to guide you, who's obviously, for me, I would say if you're a Christian and you want to make sure that the person guiding you has the same mindset, right?
Yeah,
that they're spirit led, that they're God fearing, because that's really what you need in life. And sometimes, or at least a lot of times, there's going to be people saying, okay, that's cool in the spiritual aspect of it, but what about the secular side of it? There's nothing wrong with you having a mentor outside of church as long as they have the same goals in mind that you do, right? Yeah. They're trying to achieve the same things that you're trying to achieve. And we've spoken about this before, but the more important thing is going to be being able to take in and being able to pour out. And I think that's really what it's about. I feel like listening to your story that accountability was the biggest thing.
No, if I can add on to that, like I had my brother and my mom keeping me accountable, but there came a point where, my mom told me, like, Anibal, like, the other kids are looking up to you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was doing Super Sunday since I was 12. So, a lot of other kids really, saw me.
Yeah.
And so she took it more like, on the church side, like, Anibal, when you don't stand up and sing, and when you don't stand up and pray, and when you don't stand up and lift your hands, those kids are watching you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, okay, snap. I got to hold myself accountable to that. And even now, right, as a man, I got to hold myself accountable, because now it's like, I am married. I don't live with him anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, he can't be like, Anibal, it's 1 a.m. Where you at? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, you got work the next day. What are you doing? You know, it's now with myself. Like, okay, like I got to make sure I'm in bed by a certain time, go to sleep because I got to wake up tomorrow. So you know, that's another transition right there. You know, from being, you know, having those people around you, that support system, to you being able to create your own support system.
Yeah.
Hold your own weight.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing, right? Where it's a lot of people struggle with that. You know, if I don't have someone there to help me with it, I can't do it. I was like, nah, bro, like you got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah. Pero eso va a ser otro podcast.
That's another episode. Nah, man. We appreciate you, G, for coming on, and
Big facts.
He's been behind the camera the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Over a year just backing us up, man.
Yeah. So literally, we started recording with his iPhone and the $25 Amazon mics.
Facts.
But no, we appreciate it, bro. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us, and hopefully this blesses, you know, the viewers and the listeners, whether you're younger or a little older, in whatever stage of life that you're in. I hope that this inspires you and that this encourages you to, you know, have faith, to remain patient and wait on God's timing for whatever He has, you know, to do in your life. So remember to subscribe, to share with your friends, like, comment, all that good stuff.
Yep. And hit that bell notification. So when we put in new content for you guys are always ready to catch up.
Yes, sir.
We got some very excited new episodes dropping soon.
Hopefully.
Stay tuned. They're going to be lit.
Lit.
All right.
There we go.